Hello, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Rida from DICE Analytics. I would be your host for this session and would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of DICE for today's webinar on Informatica Power of Data Foundation for Digital Transformation. This session is a product of the collaboration of DICE Analytics and Tech Access Distribution Pakistan with Informatica. Informatica is a platform powered by AI for end-to-end data management that connects, manages, and unifies data across any multi-cloud hybrid system. It empowers the next generation cloud data innovation and transforms data from simple binary information to extraordinary innovation with an intelligent data management cloud, also known as IDMC. Informatica's commitment is to cultivate a value-driven culture. They are passionate about building and delivering solutions that accelerate data innovations. It has also been recognized as a leader for the 6th time in the 2021 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Master Data Management Solutions. Before starting our session, I would like to request all of you who might have queries during the session to kindly type your questions in the chat box or raise your hand. Thank you. DICE Analytics is very glad to have 3 seasoned data industry experts as our guest speakers today. Our first speaker is Mr. Yasir Salah, who is a Business 360 lead at Informatica. Mr. Yasir's vast experience in business development has enriched his techno-commercial know-how in a wide scope of IT solutions. This exposed him to various sectors in several regions, and he was able to establish an excellent network with high-profile members and decision makers in several organizations. Mr. Yasir Salah will be covering MDM generally and then from Informatica perspective in the following session. Over to you, Mr. Yasir.
Okay. Thank you very much. One moment, please. Let me share my screen.
Sure, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Yasir Salah, and I am responsible for the Business 360 solutions in Informatica, Middle East and Africa. Today, I'll be more than happy to present to you the Business 360, or what is known as Master Data Management solutions, and what are the motivation behind them, what are the triggering points and the challenges that are behind the master data management solutions, and how can Informatica help in these overcoming those challenges, in addition to the most important point that MDM is covering or helping you to resolve, which are basically related to the customers, citizens. But on the other hand, it's a multi-domain technology, so we can help you in managing the domains like products and suppliers and references and locations and others, in addition to the concept related to the consent management, and how are we helping you in approaching this consent management under the data privacy pillar, which is also related to the data governance, in addition to some of the use cases that I will go through if the time allows. So starting with the major challenges, I think all of you are aware of the current situation in most of your corporate landscape. The data are scattered among a lot of applications, mainly ERP, CRM, core applications, any other applications that you have developed during the last 5 or 10 years. Cloud applications as well are becoming part of the any organization landscape, and these applications carry a lot of information related to the customer, to the vendors, to the suppliers, to your employees, and any other domain. And the fact that the data degrades with time is something that has been measured by DMB and the US Census Bureau, where they found that around 6,000 people changed their job within 1 hour, of course, worldwide, and half of them changed the address. Almost 500 get married, and half of them get divorced. And ironically, these kind of information are completely not updated in the systems. And you can see that the degradation rate is very high. It's almost 27% per year. And within 3 years, you will find that the data are completely useless. And from that perspective, we cannot also overcome the fact that there are certain relations that those data carry. For instance, if we are having a customer who is the owner of an account in a bank or in insurance company, or even dealing with a retailer, this customer is definitely having a family or related to certain people who are either a family or friends or affiliates. He also works in certain organizations, and that kind of relation is not really monitored within any systems. Over and above, everyone now uses the internet. Everybody now uses the social media. And we cannot avoid the fact that a lot of people express their emotions and sentiments about the services and the products they have acquired from different organizations, whether they were public sector or private sector. And hence, we need to also be able to attach those kind of transactions within our system. And if I'm going to articulate the major challenges in any organization whatsoever, whether it was a public sector organization or a financial organization or a retailer or any kind of organization, we will find it as simple as that a customer who provides or who requests services to acquire services or products from this organization, he deals with the, through the registration with either the CRM system or partially the core applications. And sometimes he is requested to sign contracts and agreements and so on. We will find that the customer information are scattered among different sources. Why? Because in the first instance, when he logged to the application, he registered in a certain system, which is the CRM, for instance. However, when he applied for a loan or requested further products or services, he registered to another application which is specialized with the service or product itself, like the core banking application, for instance, or the insurance application, or maybe the public sector application that provides those services, like the Ministry of Interior application that renders the licenses, upgrade services, or whatever. All those kind of information are scattered. Hence, you will find different versions of the customer profile, and it's not as rosy as it appears. Actually, some of the organizations have legacy systems that contain the customer information more than 10 years ago, and hence the fact that we are having a customer who is having a lot of information scattered among different repositories lead to the fact that we don't have any clarity about or understanding about the customer and his affiliates and his relationships. And this, in certain institutions and organizations, result in a very high risk, where the things like the anti-money laundering topics are very well raised, and those concerns constitute high risk on any organization. And eventually, we will find that there is no personalization for the customer. We cannot really understand his behavior, and we cannot really support him with the right solution. Now, this is why a lot of customers receive irrelevant information, because we don't have that clarity about the customer profile or portfolio. We send any kind of campaign to all customers, and hence they result in a lot of frustration to the customers. And let me tell you about a very personal experience that happened to me yesterday. I went to my optician doctor, and he was welcoming me and telling me, I didn't see you 1 year ago, from 1 year ago. And I told him, no, I came 4 months ago and you made me a new checkup. And as a result, I had new glasses. So he told me, how come it doesn't appear in the system? And when he investigated it, I had 2 files in the system, which is one of the most reputable hospitals here in Dubai, and this resulted to that kind of duplication. And even when he wrote the subscription, when he wrote the prescription and the medicine, when I went to the pharmacy, there were a lot of issues related to giving me the medicine because it was not consolidated. The information was scattered among different systems. So how Informatica can help in this regard? Well, Informatica is a company that has been established more than 25 years ago, and our main mission is to help you discovering where the data is located, what are the relations of this data among different data sources, how can we understand the landscape of the data, how can we help you to understand these relations, and also to be able to govern this relation in such a way that you are completely in control of your data. You understand where it's coming from, who is responsible about the data, who is managing the data, who is using the data. All those kind of information we help you to achieve. And actually, we also help you to integrate to different data sources. We help you to make a lot of data quality functionality that enables you to reach to the single source of truth or the 360 view of your customers or different domains like suppliers or vendors or references or locations or whatever domain that you would like to manage. And eventually, which is a very important topic that my colleague Jerome is going to talk about, how can we govern this data in a very easy and trusted way. And we help you doing this without writing any code. Through a visual GUI, you can start doing all those functionality related to the integration, to the data quality, to the master data management, to the data governance in a very user-friendly. And we are also agnostic from any kind of technology. We work on different platforms whatsoever, and we help you to migrate data from platform to another, through either it was on-premise to cloud or from cloud to cloud or any kind of combinations. And in order to do so, we developed this very comprehensive intelligent data management cloud environment that enables you to conduct all the required data cataloging, the integration, the application integration, data preparation, data quality, master data management, and data governance. And we use our AI engine, Claire, in order to enable you to conduct those functionality in a very simple way and in a smart way, where the Claire engine understands what is required and help you in doing it in a smarter way. And as you can see, we connect to different data sources from different environments, and we shift this data to the downstream applications, whether they were on-premise or on cloud. And my session today will be focused on the master data management. And as in the introduction, it was mentioned that we are leaders on all those domains for a very long period of time. It reaches up to 14 years in the data quality and more than 6 years in the master data management, and as you can see, in other domains as well. Now, Informatica also, during the last 25 years, has a lot of customers, very reputable customers, and we have been awarded the #1 in customer loyalty for more than 11 years in a row. In addition, covering more than 140 domains and carrying more than 100 millions of records in our master data management repository. And for the master data management, we will be talking about the customer 360 mainly, But as I mentioned, this is a multi-domain technology. Hence, we will be talking about the technology adapts different pillars like the, as I mentioned, the finance, the product, the vendors, and so on. So let us talk about the the key concept of master data management. As you can see, the customer profile could be segmented in different data sources and different applications. And then when we use the data warehouse that has been used in a lot of organizations for more than a decade now, and we will find the data is not integrated. We will find that the data is also, though we connected to data sources, we run BI applications, we are getting some good reports, but we really don't have that kind of trust that the data is 100% representing the correct data. Yes, they do exist, but we might have that kind of hazy reports because they are not integrated. On the other hand, when the technology evolved and we have structured and unstructured data, the problem came much more complicated because now we are talking about the customer along with their transactions, interactions, and most of the analytics are producing beautiful reports and strong, analytics, but eventually we don't have that kind of 360-degree because we are missing the integration or the single source of truth. Hence, when we try to know the customer, it's not that feasible because eventually you need to know from your data sources what are your customer, who is your customer, what are the products they are using, and what are the next offers, and who is in their circle. Now, let me explain to you how master data management works, because in order to overcome those challenges, we really need to have this technology. So for simplicity, I'm using an example of two data sources, CRM and a web application, and a lady named Susie Stern or Susie Thomas. We really don't know which one of those records is the correct one. Also, if you can see the address is written in a certain way, on the other application is written in a different way. It contains the phone with certain numbers and one of the numbers is missing. It contains information like email in one of the data sources and it does not contain that information. And this is what we are trying to resolve. We start by cleansing this data first, standardizing the data so that the address format should be on the correct format, the phone format should be in the correct format, so that we start preparing the data for the matching function, where we try to see what are the potential resemblance between those records. So we can see here that there is Susie M, there is a resemblance, but maybe a difference in the spelling. Also for the address, we can see also a certain resemblance. So this is what we do in the match. And I need to highlight the fact that Informatica has very sophisticated probabilistic algorithms when it comes to matching, which are used widely and with high confidence, because they do have a lot of AI and machine learning algorithms that help you to conduct the matching in a very smart way and save a lot of time and a lot of efforts, in comparison to the manual effort. After conducting the match, we start doing the merge, whereby we will consolidate those data, the correct ones, in the golden record. It doesn't stop at this stage, because after doing that matching and merging, we need to enrich the data. And this means that if I have a third data source, or a fourth, or a fifth, or 100, or even an external data source, like other data sources who are internationally recognized, like the Bloomberg and others, we can definitely connect to those data sources and get information from them and put this information into the single source of truth or golden record. Now, it also doesn't stop at this stage. The master data management solution enables you to relate this record to the other persona or maybe domains. So in this case, we recognized that this lady is the wife of Mr. John Thomas, and she is the mother of Alice Thomas, and she works at this organization, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, the major functionality of master data management are cleansing, enriching, matching, merging, relating. And by doing this, we will be having the major consolidated golden record, which will include all the basic information, the identifier, the contact information, the financial information, if of course allowed, and any other information if allowed, of course, according to the data privacy laws of the country. And it can go to that stage where you can have educational, financial, health information into that kind of single domain or single source of truth record. And by doing so, we will be reaching to the trusted customer profile, where we will be having the correct customer information that enables us to talk to this customer in a very confident way. We know that this is the correct customer, and then we know what are the kind of products or services that he acquired. And in this specific topic, we cannot ignore the fact related to the consent management. We definitely can now do the consent management functionality very easily because we need really to know who your customers and prospects are, where the consent was given, and when it was revoked, and what type of data can be used for which purposes, and how they allow you to use the information, and all what you know about the customer. And also, we give them the right to be forgotten rights, so that we are abiding by the data privacy laws. And this typically what the master data governance help. How can it help in the consent management part, which is a dramatic part for the data governance experience. Now, after speaking about the master data management, we cannot overcome the fact that the customer as well conducts or makes a lot of transactions using different applications, and also interactions using the social media. And hence, we can have that kind of very important reports related to the segmentation of the customer by studying the sentiments of the customer, by understanding their, their sentiments about our products and services. We can really reach the stage where we have the insights, or what we call the customer 360 insight information, by understanding the customer basic information, and also the information related to what they said about us in the social media, what kind of products and services did they use, what kind of transactions that they did through the last 3 or 5 years, or whatever period of time, and what are the relation of this customer with other affiliates and with other domains, like their family or the product they acquired, or any kind of domains. And also we can assess the customer sentiments through a very simple dashboard. As you can see, this solution availed to the data scientists all the required data fabric in order to conduct their data science tools, to use their data science tools in order to reach that kind of stage where we can see the customer journey along with us as an organization, whether, as I mentioned, it was a public sector or bank or insurance or even retailer. We can now see the journey. When did he connect to our systems? What are the issues that he is facing? When did he call the call center? What are the topics that he was faced with? And how was he serviced? All those kind of things are articulated in a very simple way. And hence we are able to understand our customer properly and send them the right campaign of awareness or marketing or any kind of campaign according to the right segmentation, to the correct segmentation of the customer, and according to the best understanding to this customer information. And hence, now we can know our customer. Now, the KYC, I always say, it's not only in the banking sector, it's in every sector. You know your customer in the government by having the Citizen 360 solution that enables you to understand the whole customer profile. and provide them with the right services. You know your customer in the financial sector, and accordingly, you will be able to conduct all the anti-money laundering and the GDPR compliance and the consent management functionalities. In the healthcare, you will be having that kind of visibility of the customer golden profile and enable the health authorities to really understand the status of their citizens' health and provide better services, and so on and so forth, as you can see. Now, after explaining the technology, I would like to talk about the use cases. And the first use case, which is very simple to understand, it is the Citizen 360. And as you can see, this is typically a use case which is appreciated by a lot of organizations in the, especially those who are responsible about data and data security in the countries, in most of the countries. And because it really takes care of the data once the citizen is born and he belongs to a certain family, and all his information are registered in a certain repository, governmental repository. When he is born, his information is registered in the Ministry of Health, and his family information is registered in the Ministry of Social Affairs, and so on and so forth. He grows up into and he goes to school, and he develops his skills. He applies for a job, and he does his MBA. He builds a family. He marries and builds a family. And definitely, there are a lot of requirements, related to his new responsibilities. So he wants to take a loan, and hence he has to apply his credential to the bank. Now he has to have social insurance and also health insurance, and so on and so forth. As you can see, tremendous amount of data sources, governmental data sources, that needs to have the proper connectivity and data interoperability in order to achieve, a single source of truth record for the citizen. And that cannot be happening without having the master data management technology. And this will lead to a lot of sub-initiatives, because once we have all those kind of data consolidated in a single source of truth, we can plan strategically for the nation's welfare. And we can also look at sub-initiatives like student in the education, labor, and maybe the insurance and the healthcare, and many other initiatives. And this is what we have done in Brazil, where we manage the Brazilian government to really implement the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, global goals, and they selected this technology in order to be able to have, to accomplish the KPIs of the healthcare, and for the education, and for the citizen-centered services, as you can see. And this started in a certain stage from the citizen part, and now it is touching other parts like the education, student, and the healthcare, as you can see here. And when we look at the value proposition to this entity, which is called Prodesp in Brazil, we'll find that their major goals were to have a trusted citizen profile, to deliver exceptional services to the citizen, and leverage all the existing technologies. But the challenges they faced were very much into understanding who is the citizen, what is the correct information about the citizen, what are the proper government services that they are currently having, and what are the next best services that they need to acquire, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, this solution enabled them to have that kind of 360 golden record and single source of truth, and enable them to consolidate the data sources in a single view, and implement a lot of predictive analytics on top of the data fabric. And this led to a very good achievement in the data driven governance transformation. By the way, the project is, of course, a long one, and it started a couple of months ago, and we are monitoring the outcomes as it should be, because this is what is expected from the customer, to have that kind of citizen center services to reduce the cost and to improve the data quality. When we look at another industry, we will see that the master data management can be used extensively in the banking sector. Why? Because for the same reasons. You will find that the banking sector is having a lot of applications like core banking, loans, credit cards, treasury, and for the consumer, for the person, he or she, they will have the same issues related to the single customer view. Their name in the core banking might be different than their name or address in the loans, and so on and so forth. And you will find that there is a very strong need to also understand the relation of this person to his family, to his friends, to his affiliates, to his work. And also, this will help them to understand what kind of products and services that they could render to this person through their marketing department. What are the proper sales services that they could provide, and also for a very important functionality required by the banks, which is helping them to apply the KYC, know your customer, and the anti-money laundering requirements, and of course the consent management and the compliance. So this is typically when we talk about the persons in the banks. But when we look at the corporates in the banks as well, we will find that corporates are much more complicated, because we will see that, number one, we need to identify the fact that ABC LLC is different than ABC Incorporation, or the same, to which kind of holding company they belong to. So we need to reach to the stage where we identify correctly that AC International is the holding company and all those companies are affiliated to it. And hence, we also need to associate all those kind of related entities to their products and services, and like in the banks, the securities and the other products. And by doing so, we will be helping very much the risk management department and the fraud department and all those legal and compliance departments to do their job in a very highly trusted and correct way in a very short period of time. And this means that in the banking sector, for instance, you will be able to have that, you will be able to reach to the fact that the customer 360 is the core of all those applications. It is the way that each and every application will connect to and get the correct information related to the customer, so that they can do their job and functionality in the most correct way and in the most relevant way. And as you can see here, it takes from different applications and it delivers to the data warehousing and the data lakes if available, and also enabling them to make the correct analytics in a very short period of time. And by doing this, we will be able to help the banking sector overcome their challenges related to the lack of trusted customer profile, avoid the penalties due to the non-compliance and having that inaccuracy of their reporting. And in addition, to know exactly the customer, which products they own and what are the next best offers that they should do. And by doing so, by implementing such solutions, we will find that companies like Union Bank, they were able to reach to 5 times faster for the suspicious transaction reporting for the anti-money laundering compliance, able to improve their data quality for the bank's KYC initiatives from 35% to 100%, and other banks were able to reduce the risk and enhance the decision support, in addition to avoiding a lot of costs when it comes to IT costs, and also increase in the integration productivity in other banks. And our reference in this is Union Bank, which is available on our website as a video, and also as a PDF, where you can read in details how did they go through this experience and what are the kind of results that they have achieved. And the most remarkable result that they achieved was very much increasing the revenue 12 times as a result of the digital transformation. And the loan approval cycle was reduced from 4 to 6 weeks to 3 minutes. And this was a great achievement that helped them in their digital transformation journey. By that, I conclude my presentation. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to reply to them. Thank you.
If the attendees have any questions, they might raise their hand or type their queries in the chat box, and then Mr. Yasser can answer them.
So I'm looking at the so the different spelling in the mobile application was essentially the same information. How would the system define what's correct? Does Informatica only match with two systems, or can it do? Informatica can match with any kind of data sources, any quantity of data sources, no issues. And by using the fuzzy logic, we reach to a stage where we can help you identify the correct spelling. Also, there is it's this kind of process is related to a certain accuracy, where we tell the system that if the accuracy is more than 90%, you can automatically change this. If not, then it has to go to a data steward who can take the decision as well. So using the AI and the fuzzy logic is very much important to shorten the time and take decisions on behalf of the customer in case the customers want the system to take care of it. If the trust is not high, it goes to the data process. I have a question. Will you tell me how risk and fraud departments play their role? Now, this is a long process. I think we can, if you belong to a certain bank, we can definitely organize a presentation to do this, but very quickly by understanding the correct customer profile and knowing that this person, Yasser Salah, is the person who has that ID number, and also helping you to know the relation between the customer and his affiliates, his transactions, what type of transaction he did to which organization through a certain graphics. It will help you as in identifying the risks. Okay. For the data strategy, definitely you need to have data strategy, someone to help you in conducting your data management strategy. And this is something that needs to be taken care of through either the consultants or a knowledgeable data management organization that can help you do so. The question related to didn't have a question, but my humble request, please send the presentation. Sure, we will be sending the presentation. And if data coming from two sources, mobile and create changes in both sources together against particular customer, then how MDM decide which one is the golden record? Now, this this is related to the implementation of MDM. We do have a lot of scenarios for the implementation, and it depends on the way we agree with you as a customer on this scenario. But when there are a lot of organizations adopt the concept related to having the MDM in the middle all the time. So if any changes happen in the data source, it always go to the MDM to make sure that things are in the most correct way. how you handle that specific data? Well, we have, if there is any detection, misdetection or some other queries, then how you handle that specific issue. Not very clear about the question, but I think we can discuss this later. Recorded would give a corporate service sector example how we implement it. This customer monitor. Does the master customer monitor his complaint? Any timeline visible show to customer that problem we face now days? We don't know where is our complaint landed. Of course, when it comes to using the the master data management solution, you definitely have a track about the customer along with his other entities. When we use the solution related to the transactions and interactions, especially, we definitely are able to understand or to build the relation between the customer profile and the complaint, for instance, and know exactly the history of those kind of transactions, and be able to reach to a certain stage whereby we are completely sure about the the history of the complaint and so on and so forth, and provide, of course, the right solution. Drop an email, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think I answered most of the questions. If there are any other questions, please feel free to send to my email or to the organizer, and also I'll be more than happy to have individual sessions for different organizations along with our partners to enable you to have better understanding and more awareness about the master data management solutions in your own organization and industry. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Yasser Salah, for your valuable insights. Now, our next speaker is Mr. Fahad Bhatti, who is an expert data governance trainer and cloud specialist. Mr. Fahad is a senior data professional with experience of design, architecture, and implementation of big data, data warehouse, and analytics solutions. He also possesses proven experience in BI processes of data quality and testing, DevOps, and cloud technologies. Mr. Fahad will be covering data management and data governance in this session. Over to you, Mr. Fahad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Rida, for the introduction. First of all, thanks to Yasser for such an informative session on a product like Informatica, the leading product in the market today. Thank you, Yasser, a lot for this. And without wasting much more time, taking much more of your time, I would like to start my presentation.
Sure,
please let
sir.
me know when you guys can see my slide deck.
We can see it now, sir.
Thank you, everyone. So, is it coming in full screen?
No, sir.
Just a second. Yeah, now I guess
Yes,
you guys
it
can
is
see
now.
in full screen. Yeah. So today we will be discussing three things, majorly the modern data landscape, how it looks like. Then I'll like to give a bit of an overview on data management and some about data governance. As this, keeping in view that this session is with Informatica collaboration, and Informatica is the leading or the, it would not be wrong to call the best tool currently that supports the data governance and the data governance avenues. The Informatica products are the best in the market. So currently, where do we live in the data world? The data world in past 3 to 4 years have changed a lot, and it is expected to change quite rapidly in next 3 or 4 years, and the resources or the platforms will be coming more and more into the market. Currently, the experts call this is data 3.0 era. In this, at the moment, it is in the early phases, but the businesses have realized that data is like the fuel to innovation. and the importance of data is really very much within every organization. Some experts and some economic experts call today that give it a call out that the data for any organization, it's 10 times more valuable than a real estate investment in today's world. And things have massively changed post COVID, because obviously work from home coming in and everything was data. Real estate had gone dropped down. In this data 3.0 era, the MDM solutions, the data quality and cloud data integration, they are playing a quite a pivotal role, and for all the organizations to grow. There are a lot of new opportunities which businesses are exploring. So five key technology shifts within this era are expecting, that is the explosion in data volume. By explosion in data volume, I mean that after the big data terminology, one thing that have come into play is the data volume. That have the first V of the big data volume that have got massive. Now, previously we used to have OLTP or OLAP, which have got a very little in MBs or early gigabyte of data, but now we are talking about petabyte and terabytes of data. There are new users, ML and AI models, data is coming into the cloud. So and the most important thing that have come in are the new data types. I'm pointing specifically into semi-structured and unstructured data, which was, if you go 10 years back, then semi-structured or unstructured data didn't have that much importance. But today, every organization is looking into these kind of data. You have got IoT devices, you have got Twitter trends that the organizations need to capture. Hello? So Twitter trends that the organization, so that is, these are the new things that are coming into this era. There are some recent quotes by Gartner and Forbes that how the data and analytics have compiled the summary for you guys, that how the data and analytics have changed within this era. And the key thing to note is that the cloud computing, as per Forbes, is approximately about to reach 275 million in 2022, out of which 80 billion is expected to be AI, ML, and data. That means around 1/4 or 1/5 investment will be in the data. Another thing that currently 86%, there's an 86% as per Gartner growth in database management systems by 2020, and 75% by 2022 will be on the cloud platform. So yeah, as Yasser showed you within Informatica, that it is a cloud data intelligent platform. So that is how Informatica is aligned, that they are giving you the data management tools and on cloud. So it is pretty much into the market and the requirement of most, becoming the requirement of most of the organizations. Now we'll start with the data management. What actually it's the management is. Whenever things grow, regardless of data, in our normal life as well, when things grow massively and things come into demand, you need a proper management for that. Like, let's take an example of an organization. 3 or 4 people might have started. They don't need proper administration, they don't need HR management. But when the organization grows, it goes to 5 to 10 to 20 people, then the entrepreneurs or the bosses of the organization realize that now we need proper human resource management. We need proper human resource managers that can look after the onboarding process and the performance process. So whenever the thing is growing or the thing is into demand, anything in our normal life, we need to properly manage it. If the thing is unmanaged, it creates a disaster. Rather than rather than being beneficial, it creates a disaster. So as we have discussed in the first 2 slides, that the way the data industry has been growing massively, so data management is coming into the play. What actually is the data management? The data management is actually the development, execution, and management of plan policies to organize the organization's data assets. What is a data asset? The data assets are the simple, any form of data or piece of information that is going within an organization, like an Excel file or the track record of employees, the salaries and all that. That's the data. And to properly manage them and get the value out of it, get the value out of the from the source till the target, it's data management. The third point over here mentioned, it's really very important. Most of the people, they relate that data management is an IT function or an IT responsibility, but that's not correct. Data management is the responsibility of the whole organization from top to bottom. Everybody have to play their part and everybody have to take the contribution or take the ownership of the data management and data management practices. How organizations can benefit from the data? uh, the data helps them to get better insights of their products and services. They can it can help them to make the big decisions to serve their customers a better and to design their strategic goals. Let's take an example of a telecom company. A telecom company have to launch a new package for their postpaid subscribers. The management decides that okay, the postpaid subscribers, they are very good and healthy, and they are good chunk for the revenue. So let's design a new postpaid package. How, what should be the offering to the customers? That is, they have to analyze that okay, these should be the free minutes, these should be the free SMSs that we, this is the number of free, this is the amount of GPRS that we should offer to attract our customers. And this is and during this particular window, like maybe 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., that's the peak window for us. So we should offer more to the customers, more facility, so that they should be attracted. Now, these are all the insights, and for the better delivery, that is how the data can help them. Similarly, with the let's take an example of a let's of a delivery. Now, within of a food delivery store, I was working recently with them for one of the for one of the food delivery organization here in Pakistan, and we analyzed that during 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. within Lahore, this there is one particular area where the orders are continuously getting delivered very late. The company was getting the complaints regularly. Now with the data, they analyzed that yes, this is the peak hour over here. We need to make sure that our more riders are over there. We need to offer, and how to control that the riders don't overbook themselves within that window for that particular area, reduce their tariff so that the riders shouldn't be like rushing to get 10 or 20 orders. They should get the less orders and deliver them timely. So this is how the data helps to achieve the strategic goals and help them the business decisions. Now, key business drivers for a data management. We have discussed that data is power and it helps you to create the decisive competitive advantages. Like for that food delivery company, they analyze that okay, in this particular area during the peak hours, we need to have more food riders. Otherwise, our competitor organization will gonna take lead over us, and we're gonna suffer and lose the business. Now, the most important and the key thing is the quality of the data. That is like the backbone for your data management. How the data quality, like how the data quality can help? That's a big question. That is a very big question. Now, let's take an example that you have to do some kind of analysis uh, uh, for an insurance company. Okay, that how many people are above 60 medical insurance company, that how many of their customers requiring the dental insurance. If the customers data, that is the CRM data or the customer's data, that insurance company doesn't have proper age. They are not getting their up-to-date age. The system is not tracking that, okay, which customers are requiring. That means there is a loophole in the quality of the data, and that would hamper them in making the decisions. The common challenges because within the data management that organization face, that most of the organizations are facing in today's world. Number one is the organizational structure. I mentioned in my first slide that the data management, it's not the do we have some questions, or we will take these questions at the end? uh, Rida,
So
will
you
we take
can
the
answer the question as per your convenience.
Okay, so we have one attendee. Let's Amir. Yes, please. Amir, you need to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Amir, do you have any questions, or shall we? I guess we can move ahead.
Ji sir.
Yeah. So, sorry. Okay. So, I mentioned in the first slide that the data management, it's the organization's responsibility. And that is one of the key bottlenecks that most of the organization today are facing, that they say that this is an IT responsibility and they are not participating in it, like finance, marketing team, or the HR team. These organizational structures, they need to be more collaborative, and they need to share their more data and problems so that a better management or a better strategy can be defined. Existing data silos, as most of the organizations are working in a legacy data warehousing or database management systems environment. The organizations have got their small uh, databases that are working within the team and for specific use case. Now, one data is not connected to another data, and that is one of the key problems. Like if you take an example of a student of a university, so a student might have got different IDs in a library management system and in the finance or the course registration system. Now to connect these two would be a different problem. And in Pakistan, this example would be very much common, that whenever your degree or your university convocation is very near, you are asked by the university to go into each department and get the clearance certificate. Now, this clearance certificate, why you have to get and go into the library, you have to go into the finance department, the canteen, or different areas. The only reason is that the data or the information they have, it's just particular to that use case. It's not interconnected. And that is why the end user or the student, they have to go into all these departments, get their clearance, and come into that. A perfect example is that if you need to get your police clearance certificate, so you need to mention your previous 10-year addresses. Now, I can compare two countries where the data is partially not connected, and the country like Australia, where the data is pretty much connected, and the security department have got all the information. If you give your 10 years past addresses and the data is centralized, they'll simply gonna connect to the respective authorities, get the data, and give you the clearance certificate. However, in Pakistan, most of the people can understand this, or if they have got through the police clearance certificate, they would agree to this example that you need to go and talk to your last 10-year police stations and show and tell them that yes, your data, that you are a clean person. The data is not properly connected. The data is working in silos. These are some of the classic examples of challenges of the data management. the data management guy have to face, the organizations have to face. I'm coming to data management adoption steps, that if an organization tomorrow stands up and say that we look, we need to start with the data management and data policy, how we need to start. The first and the foremost thing to start off with, understand your business, understand your business drivers. The next thing would be align with your business strategy. The business, by business strategy, doesn't mean that the data management is only required for the revenue generating companies, but in the government sector, the government, they don't do business, revenue generating business, but they do have their daily day-to-day operations and businesses. So they need to understand that what they need to, what is their strategy, how they need to serve their people. The third thing is create a data governance strategy. What data governance is, we will discuss in detail in next few minutes. I've got, this is the third topic for us today, but the data governance, the data governance in a layman's term is democratization of the data, or it is creating the constitution of the data for your organization. Define, yes, this is how the data should look like. Create an operating model. By operating model, I mean that you need to create that, okay, the following other departments or following actions, they need to be taken. Develop your goals, your principles and policies. How that data governance thing would be implemented. Invoke change management. Obviously, you are going through a change within your organization. So your change management needs to be very strong and proactive. And lastly, the data management is not done overnight. It is done in the incremental steps. And it is a continuous wheel that you have to go and improve your data management strategy. This is one of the core frameworks, or one of, you can say, DEMA. That is one of the best, or one of the most being used practice currently for the data management in the world. It focuses on the data management. It addresses the main avenues that your data management, or within the data world, an organization should be looking into. Now, if you see that over here, the data governance is the center within your data management, and all other corners, you will gonna see, you can see that they are important in the data field, and they are important in the data field, but sometimes the organizations take it for granted, or they are not being touched. But if you have to do a proper or a good data management, and you have to design a data strategy, you need to look into all these avenues. You have to be define the architecture. You have to design a data model. How the data will gonna be stored, data security, how the data would be integrated, document management, MDM, master data management, metadata management, how your data warehousing and BI gonna look like. And for me, the most important in the whole data governance is the data quality, because the quality is always required, and it's always ahead of the quantity. So these are the main pillars within the data management that the experts believe should be, and that's the DEMA framework, which is being widely used within the organizations today. They follow. Uh, any feedback, any questions up till now before we switch on to data governance, the next part of our presentation? Okay. Let me go into the next part, which is the data governance. Now, this is a big question, that what actually is the data governance? Everyone defines data governance in their own way, or in their own, the way they like to. But for me, I've, in the most simplified form, for me, governance means to govern to govern a particular area, to define something that is right and something that is wrong. And for the data, that is why for data governance, if somebody asks me that, what is data governance? I say that it is the constitution of data for an organization. You define what is right, what is wrong for your data within your organization. And why? Just whenever data governance comes into your mind, that why you have to define yes or no, just bring this picture back into your mind. That yes, within the data governance, you have to define the architecture, you have to define the data model, you have to look into the storage, you have to define the security. So that is in the simplest form that data governance is the constitution of the data for an organization, and the management decides that, okay, this is what we have to do, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. Now coming into some technical that from the technical point of view or from the experts, that data governance is the key building block for data information management for an organization. It focuses on the exercise of authority through formal governance structure, roles, and responsibility. I'll discuss in the following slide that what structure and roles are there. The data governance focuses on the planning, monitoring, and enforcement of data, effective data management. With this point, bring that Dhamma picture in your mind that how you are enforcing it. Next thing, when you define the next thing is that it helps the organization to manage availability, integrity, and security of their enterprise data. Now, if you have defined the goods and the bads, the yes and the no's, what is required for the organization, what is required for the
Hi Fahad, we are unable to hear you.
I cannot hear the voice.
I think there is a connection problem. He's joining back.
Okay, thank you.
the people that we need to.
Assalamu alaikum. Yasser, I can't hear you. Are you on mute or?
No, I cannot hear the speaker as well.
It's pretty quiet. Jerome is
Can you
saying
hear
that.
me?
Shall I go ahead and speak? Yes, Jerome, please. You're most welcome.
Yeah, I think I will
I can see you now.
pick up the presentation and so we can carry on. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see the screen, Jerome.
All right, very good. Thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to continue on my colleague's presentation. He was talking about data governance. That's also going to be my topic. I'm going to change a little bit the angle, but I'm going to continue on what he was describing. So today my target is to talk about data governance in the context of creating value for the business in the analytical world. And one of the key aspects of a successful analytical project is the focus on that business value. And if you don't have a clear business outcome, the initiative will just fail. And we're going to have a look at this topic today. So what we're going to do is first, we're going to have a look at what the business value really means for an enterprise. Then we will see how we can plan strategically in order to drive that business value with data governance. And we'll have a reality check. We'll have a look at what is actually happening in the enterprise and the problems that occur along the way and how they can be avoided. We'll have a look at the technology, specifically Informatica's technology, and how that can help in building and accelerating the business value creation. And then we'll have a quick takeaway. So before I start, data analytics is a key topic for anybody in the modern world, and everybody who is in the webinar today will be agreeing on the fact that adopting a data-driven strategy is essential to remain competitive, and it's even more true in the post-COVID markets world. Now, you look at this number on the screen, and the problems that we see and the analysts see in the market is that a lot of programs are failing. The number is just overwhelming. The vast majority of the enterprise are unable to leverage data analytics to truly impact their business. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and have a look and understand why it is so difficult. So first, let's start by having a look at the different steps in the typical analytical process. Once the data is available, typically the IT team will get access to it, will prepare it, will make it available to data scientists. There will be data exploration, there will be modeling, data stewards will have a look at the data, developers will also work around that, the data analysts will create the model, and then there will be a creation of BI reports or analytical applications. And then obviously you will be deploying that for business analysts, and in general, business user will be able to use this data. Now, data governance is the cement around and between each of these steps. Now, what is really important here is the decision step. This is where the business value is lying in. And you can look at this analytical process or the life cycle in different ways. Either you consider that the decision is a conclusion, is a uncontrolled consequence of everything that was done before, the preparation, the exploration, the modeling, the deployment, or you can do it the other way around, and you can start by defining what you want in that green bubble, what kind of decisions you want to make, and then you will build backwards the cycle. You will look in a different way how you can completely build this life cycle. Now, to determine what you want to put in the decision step, what you're actually trying to do with your data, you first need to start thinking value. And the first step is defining the desired business outcome. Now, you need to ask yourself the question, what is the business drivers that my executives or yourself are after? And typically, they fall into three families. Either you want to reduce the costs, which you could be doing by eliminating redundant manual data processing, for example. Or the second family is increasing profits. For example, you might want to enable your business people to run analytics on customers' data and create value out of that. Or the last one is reducing the risk. For example, it would be avoiding fines from the regulatory authorities, the central banks, the regulating bodies. So it could be one of these three families. And once you have defined what you are trying to do, you will be able to give a direction to your program. And you're going to go one level down, and you're going to unveil the actual use cases that you will want to implement. By the way, you can have multiple drivers. You might want to reduce the costs and reduce the risk at the same time, or increasing the profits and reducing the cost at the same time. But typically what we see in the successful programs is one very clear, strong direction, which is one of these three. Now, once you have defined what is that direction, you will go into the use case level. That's the second level of planification. You will start thinking strategically. And a good candidate for a use case has to be concrete, realistic, and needs to have measurable benefits. And what you would typically do is, at first, you would probably determine a number of all the possible applications, and you would be selecting the one that is the quickest to implement and that has the maximum business impact. Now, what you can see on this slide is that the use cases are very diverse, depending on the industry you're located, depending on the region of the world you're operating business in. Some use cases are specific to some enterprise. Some use cases are valid for everybody. The regulation, the data regulation, for example, will be applicable to anybody. And typically, what we see is that the use cases fall into four categories. It could be insights and analytics. It's everything that is around empowering users in finding and accessing data, for example, through self-service analytics. And that could be supporting initiatives like, for example, smart metering in the energy sector, or retail sector would be doing marketing analysis. That's the first category. The second one that is applicable to most of the companies is the regulations. Companies in the financial services might want to reduce risk exposure by looking at central banks regulations and automating that. Or, for example, GDPR, all the new regulations in the Middle East that are coming will be enforced to anybody. So insights and analytics, regulation. The third one is business enablement. You're trying to break the silos of data in order to fuel business initiatives. For example, that could be risk evaluation in the insurance sector, or it could be enabling collaboration with a central repository of business glossaries and enterprise processing. Insights and analytics, regulations, business enablement, and the last one is digital transformation. So most of the people in the room are already planning or actually already doing a move to the cloud. And you need to do that in a controlled way. You don't want to go blindly to the cloud, put all of your data in the cloud, and then think about what you're going to do, what kind of data needs to be protected, how you're going to move it. So by using data governance, you can control and you can execute your digital transformation, or you move to the cloud in a wise and controlled way. Now, what is common with all of the examples that I've been talking about and that are printed on the screen are the key aspect is the trust that you and your users in the business have in the data. If you don't trust the data, nothing is possible. And the reality is actually a little bit more complex than what I was describing. It sounds brilliant what I've just said, but the reality is a bit more complex. There's a lot of challenges that explain the low success rates that we saw in the first slide. Could be excessive manual activity, it could be the lack of automation, it could be misalignment between business and IT. My personal favorites are the lack of visibility and the lack of sponsorship. Now, the good news is that these challenges can be anticipated and you can avoid them by putting a strong data governance practice in place. And one of the key aspects to succeed is to articulate your strategy around a technology solution, which will act as an accelerator for your strategy. And this is what Informatica is providing with the platform. So what we have seen so far is that there is no one size fits all when it comes to data governance and data analytics. And naturally, the technology should be supporting your strategy and your objectives, and not the other way around. It shouldn't be you who is adapting to the limitations or the capability of the technology that you're choosing. And that's why you want to find a modular platform that will enable you to start your data journey wherever you want and provide the versatility to turn on new components as your data journey matures. So maybe you want to start by defining the business context, assigning the roles and responsibilities in the enterprise. And then as a second step, you might want to map that to the physical data repositories, the technical assets, the database, the data lakes, the data warehouse, all of these. Or maybe you want to do it the other way around. Maybe you want to start by building the technical catalog and then assign the business ownership and policies. So it's up to you. And once you've done that, then you might want to create data integration pipelines with built-in data quality rules, which will be built on the intelligence that you will have created in the data catalog. So you will be reusing what you have built in the first place in the second phase. And later on, you might want to create a 360-degree view of your business data or your customer data, which was what my colleague Yasser was describing before. And you might also want to look at your data privacy. Somebody was asking a question in the chat. How do you, in the banking sector, work around the data protection and data privacy? So there's a module for that. Now, you can start anywhere. You can use 1, 2, 3, 6 of these modules. It's up to you. You can start anywhere. You can grow as fast as you can. You can stay as small as you want. The choice is yours, and the technology is here to support your strategy. Now, you can do that only if you're using a modular platform, which has a common metadata layer and built-in artificial intelligence, which will make sure that you have a holistic management of your data across the enterprise. Now, here's a good example of the solution that can boost your analytics by providing true self-service data access through a data marketplace. So the problem that we see often is that you have the people who have the data, they own the reports, they know how to do it, they can create stuff, and they're very powerful. And you have the other people, the data consumers. They don't really know where the data is. They would love to have access to it. It's often, very difficult to get data. They don't really know where to start. And a typical example is a data consumer who gets out of a meeting room and he wants to get access to that beautiful dashboard that he's seen on the screen, but he doesn't know where to start. And typically what would happen in a traditional enterprise that doesn't have a data marketplace is that the data consumer, the business analyst, for example, will probably ping the person who is in the meeting room with him and say, hey, can you give me access to that data set? And that person might say, oh, well, I don't have access to it. I'm not the data owner. Go and speak to IT. And IT would say, well, we don't really know what kind of data you want. Do you want it in that format, in that shape? And then it will take a lot of time, emails, phone calls. If you put a data marketplace, you're streamlining all of that. And the way it works is very simple. The data owner will create and publish the data sets in the data marketplace, so it can be reused by the wider community, the data consumers, the business people. And a data consumer will be able to search and shop for data, just like you would do on Amazon. You would be able to use a search engine, or you would be able to go through the different categories. You will be able to search for data, understand the quality of the data set, read the reviews, the rating, understand what is good, what is not good, how it can be used. And once that person is happy with the data he found, he will be able to check out and request access to the data. He will select his preferred delivery method, could be through a dashboard, could be through a cloud repository. And the data steward will be able to approve or reject the request and track past orders. And once approved, the data order will be fulfilled, providing visibility, traceability, and control. over who has access to which data sets across the enterprise. So the data marketplace really makes it possible to easily deploy self-service analytics in a governed and controlled way, which is absolutely essential. Now, a few key takeaways. What we've seen so far is that if you want to create business value, you need to understand where you're going. You need to know how you're going to attain this objective. And data governance is going to be here to help you put the boundaries and the direction to make sure that your project is successful. And you want to do that in a very strategic way. You want to plan ahead. You want to think about it. You want to define where you're going, thinking strategically. And you want to do that using technology. It's too complex to do that manually. You want to rely on technology. And you should be using a proper solution like Informatica's platform that has metadata-driven artificial intelligence built in the platform to accelerate your initiative. Now, if you want to scan here, this is a free document that will help you do exactly what I just described, which is defining what are your use cases, your strategy, and planning ahead, making sure that you know where you're going, putting the context and the boundaries in your initiatives. Now, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself. I'll have a look in the chat as well if there's any question. Feel free to somebody. I stated that data governance should be part of IT. What is my idea on business role in data governance? I don't think I said that. Actually, I usually say the opposite. I don't think data governance should be owned by either IT or business. I think data governance, and I know that data governance that works is co-owned between IT and the business people. If it's only a business initiative, it doesn't work. If it's only an IT initiative, it doesn't work for different reasons, obviously. But yeah, it's true that some companies are more IT-led, some companies are more business-led. And I think the big challenge for enterprise is to be able to say, okay, I have a very strong business pull to go into data governance. We need to make sure that IT is supporting us, or the other way around. I have a very strong pull from IT to build a data catalog, a data governance framework. I need to make sure that my business is on board and they're actually driving with the business value. So you really need to have both worlds working together. Another question, where does the following two tools lie? Informatica Enterprise Data Catalog, Informatica Axon Data Governance. So Enterprise Data Catalog and Axon Data Governance are the two data governance components that we have in Informatica's platform. The data catalog is a technical tool, mostly. Axon Data Governance is a business-oriented tool, and they work together. They're going to share a lot of metadata and a lot of information. So the data catalog will provide technical information to the business side of the story, and the other way around. The Axon will provide business context on top of the technical catalog. Any other question? No? All right, well, if you have more questions, you can drop me an email. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dice Analytics people.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Jerome, for sharing your insightful information with us. Now I'd like to formally conclude the webinar. To all the attendees, we hope you enjoyed the session and learned a lot from it. Thank you for your active participation. You can email us for the recording or any queries regarding our trainings or workshops at info@diceanalytics.pk. Also, I extend my special gratitude to our speakers, Mr. Yasir Sada, Mr. Fahad Bhatti, and Mr. Jerome Kuzi for giving us their precious time and sharing their valuable insights with us. Thank you so much for your valuable presence. Lastly, on behalf of Dice Analytics, I would also like to thank our partners Informatica and Tech Access Distribution Pakistan. We had a great time on this webinar with all of you. Thank you.